Welcome to this 8th edition of Agripreneurship City. Today's discussion is very unique, more especially for the wonderful continent of Africa. As you know, Africa has 60% of the world's uncultivated arable land, yet imports about 45 billion US dollars in food annually. Wow. This contradiction represents our greatest challenge, but at the same time, our opportunity. In sub-Saharan Africa alone, 80% of food is produced by small-scale farmers who mostly rely on rain-fed farming. And as we know, with the impact of climate change, we cannot continue to overdepend on rain-fed farming if we are to achieve sustainability as well as economic flourishing of our continent. This webinar is discussing a very important subject, irrigation. My name is Chifuniro Kandaya. I'm one of the webinar organizers. I welcome you to this webinar, and I want to introduce my friend, Desiree, to take over, and she will introduce a number of speakers. Daisy, it's amazing to have her. She is an advisor in the office of the President of Kenya. She overlooks at issues of cooperatives, etc., and has worked with the farmers when it comes to irrigation. I'll let her to say more about herself and the commendable work they are doing in Kenya. Daisy, welcome. And
hello.
Take us over. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my colleague, Chifuniro Kandaya. It's a pleasure having joined this webinar, the 8th. I'm so glad to be part of this team, and greetings to all. I'm also grateful to be the moderator for this webinar 8. And I'm glad because the first time when we met with Kandaya, you mentioned to this, you were so interested on the ideas that Africa can share and build a resilient climate change in terms of irrigation. So welcome everyone. Let me take this opportunity to introduce, I think he has briefly said, I'm from Kenya and I work in the government supporting the President's Office, Economic Transformation Secretariat, and mainly on agriculture, looking into cooperatives. And this is where I've been for some few years, like 3 years, but in the sector, I've been there for quite some time. I've been able to support farmers and cooperatives and also support the government initiatives that have been implemented around agriculture and economic development. And now this is what we are discussing today on climate resilience irrigation. Kenya is one of the best countries. I can say I love my country, and this is where we build a lot on irrigation in building food security and increasing productivity. So this has improved and made us to adapt so much on climate variability and diversification of so many crops and water efficiency. So let me take this opportunity to welcome you all and also to thank you for joining us. And I think going forward right away, we are going to start, and I'm going to introduce 3 speakers that we are having today. And one of them is Luano Mweniwawo. Luano is a visionary entrepreneur of irrigation expert in Lilongwe, Malawi. Luano, I will love to visit Malawi one of these fine days. He's an engineer in BSc irrigation from Lilongwe and from the University of Agriculture and Resource. And Luano is also the founder of Aroha Irrigation. His company also supplies the services of irrigation solutions on drip. That is also what we do in Kenya. Sprinkler, that is very common in Africa. And excitingly is on solar pumps. Yeah, we are going energy saving. So in addition, he's also an entrepreneur pursuit. Luano has also shared his expertise as an adjunct lecturer in Luana, teaching the field of irrigation and water management. Your passion, Luano, for introducing the new technologies to local farmers drive the mission to enhance agriculture productivity and sustainability. Thank you, and we are glad to have you. My next panelist, we have Honorable Sam Dalitso Kawale. I don't know if Sam have joined us. Sam, hello.
Yeah, good afternoon. It's good to
Oh,
be
you are
here.
there. I do want
Yes,
to
I am.
introduce you in your absence.
No
Nice to
worries.
see you. Hello. So,
It's good to
Honorable
be here.
Sam Kawale is serving in the Ministry of Agriculture in Malawi. In addition to public service, he's also a mission-driven entrepreneur with strong commitment of education and leadership development. Hold an executive MBA on ISAMI Arusha. I've been to that as well. And has completed advanced training in Africa Leadership Institute. He earns a bachelor's degree along with qualification of communication and biblical studies from Africa Bible College, Lilongwe, Malawi. Thank you so much and welcome. He's currently pursuing doctorate in transformation leadership. That is at Baike Graduate University. Welcome so much, Honorable Minister. We are glad to have you.
It's
Feel
good to
at
be.
home.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. And then coming to our third presenter and our panelist is Tal Sadoan, our experienced agronomist in skilling. Yes, Tal, how are you? Where is your face? Hi, Tal.
Hello, good to be here.
Oh, yeah, there you are. Say hi to the viewers and participants. So he's skilled in agronomy skill in IBM and greenhouse, climate control, sustainable agriculture on cannabis cultivation. Interesting. We are going to know that it's very illegal in Kenya. So he's strong research professional with an MSc focus on soil science and agronomist from Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Robert H. Smith Faculty of Agriculture and Food Security. And then I think those are our three. We'll introduce the last one. I think the co-founder, that is Stephen Grobel. Michelle will do that when we shall be closing. Otherwise, I want to welcome you all for this session. And going right away, I will give Luano about 5 minutes to do the introduction so that it can start us off. And we are going to present the title on irrigation is the only way to farming. So the presentation will take us 5 minutes. And if I stop you, Luano, but I know you will be very good in keeping that time. But right now we are here in Kenya is 4 p.m. past 8 minutes. So I will just give you right away, you pick on. Welcome.
All right. Thank you so much, Daisy. I hope you can hear me.
Very well.
Yep. Thank you so much. So as Daisy introduced me, my name is Luano Mweniwao. I'm the owner and founder of Aloha Irrigation, a company that supplies and does services in irrigation in Malawi. So first of all, I'll just introduce my company. So our company was founded in 2020. So we basically do two things. Number one, we supply irrigation equipment. We import irrigation equipment such as drip and sprinkler irrigation systems. We hold a large stock of drip and sprinkler irrigation systems, as well as solar water pumping systems from countries like China, Turkey, and India, and also some surrounding countries such as South Africa. We also registered with Malawi Malawi National Construction Industry Council as specialists in irrigation and the water supply, contractors in those two areas. I'll be a little bit quick because of the time. So why did we start our company? First of all, we saw the need of irrigation. We know that a huge number of acreage in Malawi is not under irrigation, and we knew that because of the catastrophe caused by climate change, there will be more talks of this irrigation, and there will be more demand for irrigation equipment. So we started a company towards that because we know a few years ago, a lot of farmers were they could plant their crops during the rain season, and they were sure that they're going to harvest. But this time around, because of the variations of the time of the weather, it's very unpredictable. So now farmers are turning into farming, and that's why now we are relevant. Secondly, we wanted to introduce new technologies of irrigation. We have seen a lot of farmers using such kind of treadle pumps, which requires a lot of effort, but less productivity. So we were passionate to introduce new technologies, the ones that have been using outside the countries. We know, like Des was talking about Kenya and Tanzania. These guys have been a little bit far, or a bit advanced compared to us. So we copied from what they're doing, and then we also started introducing these technologies to Malawi. The other thing is we wanted to close the gap of expertise and knowledge. So we have created our shop whereby it also acts as a hub to advise farmers who come to our shop and to give them guidelines on how best they can go about with their farms. We have had impact. So we have supplied our equipment in almost all districts of Malawi. We have worked on government projects. We have worked with international NGOs like USAID and WFP. We have worked with local NGOs. We have become a hub for a lot of individual farmers and individual companies and technicians who find our shop as a one-stop shop for irrigation equipment. We have had impact also among the smallholder farmers. Like for the past 3 years, we partnered with the USAID, Feed the Future, before it was closed down, whereby we supplied over 30,000 drip kits, which are very much important. Looking at their report, it shows that the buying price is around $17, but they are able to make $17, but they're able to make $70 out of one drip kit, which is 30 meters long. We have also made a huge impact on individual farmers. I just have 3 farmers here, which we started helping them from their groundworks up to the point that they've developed their hectares over 20 hectares. Like the first one is Titemi, which we started with them when we just opened our shop. They were growing macadamia. They had just about 10 hectares, but without irrigation. We supplied the irrigation equipment. Up to now, we have filled their farm. Now the farm is up to 26 hectares with drip irrigation, and now they're also harvesting this macadamia. We have also worked on this Kolunji farm, which is based in Salima, which has got close to 10 hectares of mango, about 5 hectares of chili, and other crops such as banana, apples, and pineapple.
Okay.
We have also worked with Interfarms, and then the last part, just a minute, Daisy. The last part is on the challenges which also affect us on as a business. So we have discovered that most of the main challenges for irrigation that we have for our farmers, our customers, which also boost our business, is number one is lack of financing, which has been the major thing, because irrigation it requires a huge investment, and it's not a one-year investment, which you need a financing that can cover for 5 years. But most of the loans that are found is within maybe 6 months or 1 year, which does not really cater for our farmers, and that hinder irrigation development in our country. Secondly is lack of access to international markets. We know there's huge demand of our products in Malawi, but we have not yet had that link, which also does not bring, which also brings an interest to most customers, that after they have grown the crops, where are they going to sell? The other part of it is collaboration and partnership. We see less of collaboration and partnership, as we know irrigation needs a lot of investment. But because of this lack of collaboration, whereby farmers can come up together and create something big which can be exportable, in so doing, it also hinders irrigation development. The other one, which is common in our country, is forex and high inflation. Forex, it's very hard now to find cash, to find forex to buy, to import products outside the country and bring them here. And because most people have turned to black market or some other ways of importing stuff, so the prices are a bit higher. I think that's all I wanted to share. Thank you so much, Daisy. I hope I'm within my time.
Thank you so much. That is a well-elaborated presentation. You are precise and you are on time. I'm so glad, and thank you so much, Loano. You've raised a very good picture about what is happening in Malawi, and in a small way on what you're doing. So what I've picked up is on how you're going to boost the food security, and that is very common in Africa. It's not only in Malawi. And again, you've highlighted the challenges. And also what is important is the partnership, which I know from this session, we are going to pick from their own partnership on how we are going to get the technologies and also the equipments that are needed. As I introduce the second speaker, I will capture what you've said about the challenges that you are facing on financing and access to market, especially for the products that you've irrigated, what these are affecting markets on what we have produced on the farms, and also access in terms of market. So as I introduce our next speaker, that is Honorable Sam, who is our current minister serving in the agriculture in Malawi. I know he's been keenly listening to you, and as I welcome him to give us his talk, he will also touch us on these areas because you're one of his citizens right there in Malawi. So welcome, Honorable Sam Dalitso Kawale.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be here this afternoon just to share a few things about the agriculture sector in Malawi from a policy point of view. It's good that we have started with someone who is in the same field, providing solutions to the problems that we are facing in the country when it comes to food production as well as income generation for our farmers. Now, predominantly, Malawi is an agro-based country. 80% of people in the country, they're involved in various agriculture activities, either production itself or involved in the manufacturing value addition activities. So with that being in mind, it's very important for us to do all what we can to serve the largest population of Malawians who are involved in the agriculture sector. However, we found ourselves in a situation where external factors have made it very difficult for our farmers in Malawi to make a living out of the agriculture sector. So first of all, the issue of drought is there, as well as other economic impacts. Luano has talked about the issue of forex and so on, but let me focus more on the issue of climate change. First of all, last year, the last 3 years to be specific, we've been hammered by the impact of climate change. We've had cyclones, one after the other, then the biggest one 2 years ago, and then last year we had drought. Last year's drought, 2023-2024 season, it impacted or affected about 44.3% of our national maize crop, which in turn resulted to a 17% reduction in our produce. And when we did the assessment, we found out that 5.7 million Malawians were affected because of the dry spell that impacted our agriculture sector. After realizing that climate change is here to stay and there's pretty much not much we can do to prevent it from coming, either floods or dry spells, we've decided to take a proactive stand, much more aggressively than we've ever done in the past. That's why we strongly believe that irrigation is a solution for us to be resilient in the agriculture sector. By investing in irrigation, we strongly believe that a couple of things will be mitigated and will continue to be food sufficient, food secure, food which is also nutritious, but at the same time generate the much needed revenue at a household as well as at a national level. But I must be very quick to say that as we are doing that, we are also adopting new technologies, different technologies that we strongly feel that can be used and must be used because these are tested and proven. We have the conventional infrastructure, as well as we're also looking at some of the best practices as we are looking into food sufficiency. So in terms of the technologies that we are adopting, adapting, and encouraging our friends to use in the form of the motorized solar pumps that they are now going all over the country where we can do irrigation. And I'm very happy Luano has talked about drip irrigation. This is to help our farmers use the water that is available in a conservative way, but still get more yield. But at the same time, there are also other best practices that we're encouraging our farmers to use. For example, mulching, as well as the practices in permaculture. And we also encourage every farmer to be involved in water harvesting and also furrow irrigation, just to diversify the types of technologies and methods that we can use to help our farmers have enough food. But we also realize that it's not just about having food on the table and go about on a daily basis, but since agriculture contributes close to 25 to 30% of our GDP, what we have also seen is that it has the potential to add even more to our GDP of our country, just irrigation on its own. 17 to 12% contribution towards our GDP, which is pretty significant. And at the same time, in general, the economy will end up being stimulated, and we can bring in an additional $80 to $140 million into the economy just by investing in irrigation. Remember, everything is happening in the context of fulfilling Malawi's Vision 2063, specifically pillar number 1, and agriculture, commercialization, mechanization is focused on a daily basis. So we can talk about implementation, bringing in different technologies, but if we don't have policy in place, then we'll just be going in circles. We need to have instruments that will guide us to move in the direction where we are producing enough food and help our families and farmers. That's why over the last couple of years, like last year, we repealed the old policy and introduced the new National Agriculture Policy, as well as the National Irrigation Policy. We had to start with the National Agriculture Policy because it overacts everything we are doing in the agriculture sector, and then bringing in the irrigation policy so that we can guide farmers on how to use irrigation equipment and how to do irrigation for increase in production, for generation at a household level, but also at the national level. So policy-wise, we put in place mechanism to help our farmers to fulfill their vision. Not only did we just focus on coming up with those policies, but we also had to come up with other 2 documents that we felt are very, very important. Firstly, the Irrigation Act. The Irrigation Act, we had to repeal the old one and bring in the new one. The Irrigation Act, the new one, it's embracing the current innovations as well as to prepare for future innovations that can come into the country to help us with irrigation for crop production, as well as generate revenue at a household and national level. So after coming up with policies and legislation, we still wanted to capacitate our farmers by providing incentives for them to acquire that technology. That's why we came up with a national agriculture incentive and diversification document. This document, we are making it available to Malawians to understand what incentives are there in the country for them to acquire irrigation equipment and other agriculture equipment. So right now, as a country, you can bring in agriculture equipment duty-free, as well as other incentives to help our farmers to produce more. So we've removed a number of duties for irrigation equipment, whether they are panels, the pipes, as well as the submersible pumps. And we will continue to modify this depending on the new technologies that are coming in. So all of these to show Malawians that we are committed. First of all, we are listening to what the farmers are saying. And after listening, we are going about to change the policies, come up with new laws, and provide incentives that will help them to have what they need to progress in their agriculture sector. So as much as we've done the policies, the acts, the laws, and the incentives handbooks, we are still cognizant of the fact that we still have quite a number of gaps that we are supposed to address. First of all, the issue of financing constraints, as Luano mentioned a few minutes ago, that is still a challenge. The government on its own cannot provide all the resources to help our farmers to acquire equipment, go into production, and so on. But so what we've done, we've engaged the private sector. So the private sector is coming in through our newly established Mega Farm Support Unit to help bring in financing from different stakeholders to help our farmers. We also understand that there's a weak coordination between the government, private sector, and the development partners. In view of that, for your information, we just passed a new extension and advisory service policy, which will help to address the gaps in the area of coordination. We also understand that we have a lot of technologies that are very old, and I'm very happy that Luano and other like-minded people are bringing in new technologies. So we'll help them to phase out the old technologies and bring in new technologies to fill in the gap or to address the gaps that we have found in the agriculture sector. But all in all, when everything is done properly, whenever we are following everything properly to the letter, our goal is to make sure that we use the extension services and everything that has been put in place to go out to our farmers and provide training on how they can use these new technologies that are low cost, as well as water conserving technologies like the drip kits, which Luano doesn't know, but actually one of my farms is using one of his technologies for us, because I strongly believe in irrigation and drip kits. So I'm using some of his equipment. Apart from just training them and introducing the new low cost and water saving technologies, we're also looking at expanding the financing through public-private partnerships, as well as microcredit institutions. That's why the Ministry of Agriculture, through the Mega Farm Support Unit, and the Ministry of Local Government through Trade Project, and Ministry of Finance through National Economic Empowerment Fund, we are bringing together resources to provide funding to our farmers, as well as private sector like Luano. And then in the end, we're also looking at issues of exploring and underground, exploring and exploiting other water sources, including groundwater, lakes and rivers, to address the food shortage in the country. We have a lot of good stories based on what we've done. We have irrigation schemes that are up and running, private as well as public ones. But our goal is to keep on listening to our partners and provide the solutions that they need, policy-wise, laws, as well as incentives that they need. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. That was so precise, and you've answered so many things that have been asked. And where do I start now? One, I'm very shocked on how Malawi has been affected by climate shocks. I didn't know that. And you think you've presented that very well, and how you've capped it, because I think the reason for this conversation is actually how we are going to compact as Africa such kind of challenges. So you have brought it so well. And I know now I can request members who are there who have question and answers, especially after the candid presentation by our Malawian minister. You can post. I have not seen question and answers. But just to wrap up, that was very excellent and very precise. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister.
You're most welcome.
Thank you very much. I have a lot of questions, and we'll ask at the end of it all so that we can tackle it generally when others will have posed the question. But I'm excited on your presentation and how you are going to bridge the gaps that has been existing, especially what you mentioned on financing and partnership, which is on private sector. It is not only in Malawi, it's around the globe in Africa, around Africa and other global countries. I think you've just given us a hint and an answer to most of it. So let me introduce the next presenter so that we can do we can see how best we can manage this one so that we can have question and answers being answered that session. So the next presenter is going to be Tall, our expert and experienced agronomist. I want to welcome him. And as I welcome him, I've said, I will remind you again, question and answers, kindly post so that in the meantime, as we listen to Tall, we could be getting back to you on question and answer inbox. So click to the inbox and just place it there. So let me take this opportunity to present our third presenter, that is Tal Sadon. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. So 1 second, let me share. So as I've been mentioned, I'm an agronomist. I have been growing various types of crops for almost 20 years now, for most of my life. Started as a field laborer in vegetable cultivation, uh, open field greenhouses, and went to study and became an agronomist. And I'm now a founder of two different companies. One provides high-tech control and sensing systems for advanced agriculture, and not only advanced, and also of an indoor cultivation for medical cannabis. But what I actually want to present here is the exact opposite. I have also been about 10 years ago, was working in Nepal in a demonstration farm for agriculture, doing some aid work. Um, and I wanna, and from what I haven't never been in Malawi, but from what I've read and researched for this webinar, I see a lot of similarities with what's happening in Nepal. So I based on that experience, and that's what I'm gonna show here. And that's basically low cost solutions for smallholder farmers to try to go around the financing problem and the technical difficulties that sometimes happen with drip. So here, just small brief that you probably know better than I, but really most of Malawians engage in farming in some kind of way. We're mainly talking about food crops and some cash crops, and mainly dependence on rainfall, which is becoming extremely problematic. Even in Israel, we feel it. The seasons are different. Every year is different. Everything is going crazy. So I'm sure over there, with being dependent on rainfall, it's even much harder. Um, so basically we have two seasons. Overall, the rainfall in Malawi is pretty high. Just to put it in reference, it's about 2.5 times more than what we get in Israel. From what I'm seeing in Malawi, we're talking about 900 to 1200 millimeters, depending where. In Israel, on average, we're getting 400, in many areas less than 100 in the desert. So there is a lot of rain and water. The problem is the distribution. And this is what we see here. I know maybe I should have played better with the colors, but I'll try to focus line by line. So if we look at the yellow line, this is the rainfall. So there is the wet season in which there is a lot of rainfall, and then the dry season, which has basically no rainfall at all. If we're looking at the red line, which is the water consumption or transpiration of maize, so we can see that in the wet season, we have enough rain, but even towards the end of the season, there is already a gap between the rainfall and the maximum consumption that maize need. So even under standard years, there is room to increase the yield by adding irrigation. The gap between these two lines, basically, this is a water deficit, this entire area. And if we're looking at tomato, which is grown in the dry season, then basically it needs to be completely irrigated. Rain almost does not support it at all because it's a dry season crop. But we do see that here, for example, this gap is that we have a lot more rain than what the crops need. So again, the problem, as I see it, is a lot in distribution and not in actual amount. So if we look at it in terms of numbers, this is for maize. This is data from Lilongwe station. So we can see that most of the season there is more rain than what's needed. There is no deficit. But this year in April, we already having some deficit relative to what the consumption of maize can be. And of course, if we're talking about tomato, then it's completely in deficit and needs to be fully irrigated. I took tomato just as a case study. I know it's not necessarily one of the most important crops there, but basically any significant crop in the dry season will have similar numbers. So this is the monthly need of irrigation. So here in one season of tomato, we're talking about 700 cubic meters per 1,000 meters of cultivation. So 700 millimeters per season in the dry season for the fully irrigated dry season crops. And from my experience in Nepal, which has a similar situation, they have the monsoons, but they also have a dry season. They have lots of rivers, lots of lakes, but they don't use them so much. And you could see sometimes completely dried fields right next to a river. And all you need is open a canal and irrigate it. So to me, when looking at the problem and also the fact that financing is difficult, and we're talking about subsistence farmers, and we're talking about populations that sometimes don't even have enough money to buy fertilizer or basic or other basic necessities for cultivation. I was looking for the lowest cost solution that not required specialized knowledge or tools, or basically that any farmer and any family or community can do for themselves. And that's basically collecting rain, building reservoirs that could collect the water in the rainy season where we have a surplus of water, and then be used in the dry spells to supplement it. So just for as a comparison, so if we took the tomatoes, so 1,000 square meters of tomatoes need around 700 cubic meters of water. And if we're talking about a reservoir, so these are three different options, for example, all with the same capacity. Obviously, the deeper you go, the less footprint you can have. But if you're talking about even at the shallowest solution, so 1,000 square meter is about 33 by 33 meters. The reservoir needed is 25 by 10, so it's about a quarter. So for every 1,000 meter of cultivation, I need another, let's say, 250 meters of a water reservoir, or less if I go deeper. Now, water reservoir from clay can be done. If they're done well, they can be very good with relatively minimal water losses. They can be built without specialized knowledge, without specialized tools, just using the bare soil that you have there. Any family can do it. If you compact it and you use the clay, even without plastic or really anything, it still can be minimal loss due to infiltration. Very low cost, easy to maintain, even if you have a very long dry spell and it starts to crack. So all you need to reseal it is fresh clay. Sometimes you can put some sand and other things that help to combat the cracking. It's completely sustainable, does not hurt the environment. It's really just taking the soil, building a reservoir. It can collect water in the rainy season, and then you use that.
Milo, check on his connection.
What? Okay, I think maybe. So really, to me, when looking at the issue, the thing that jumped to mind the best is that we need a tool that helps us to redistribute the water, and that means basically water harvesting and collection. One second. Oh, I think maybe I have a slide missing. So, but the thing is that when you're talking about the footprint of the reservoir, even if it collects all the water that falls on it, it still doesn't reach this amount that you need. So if you want to fill the reservoir to the maximum capacity, so you have enough water to irrigate, you also need to collect water from other places. So for example, collecting water from roofs and directing it to the reservoir, or maybe periodically using a solar pump from a river to refill it, or a well. Or maybe sometimes if there is other erratic floods, they can actually, again, help you fill it completely, even though it has a minimal footprint. But to me, the main key point that I wanna push here is that you have water, you need to collect it and use it when needed. The problem is distribution. Irrigation, obviously, with whatever tool that you will use, will increase yield dramatically. It can double, triple, and more depending on the actual conditions. You're less susceptible to drought and other climatic conditions. For example, the reservoir can be connected to a furrow irrigation system that, again, does not require specialized tool, knowledge, or investment. You basically just dig canals and direct the water from the reservoir to it. So it's really something that a family and a community can do by itself without any specialized investment. And even that, even it doesn't get you to perfect conditions, it will 100% improve conditions and increase the production and the yield and food available. Obviously, like was mentioned here, giving the water is one thing. The other point is you need to keep it there and not just lose it due to evaporation. So mulching is one of the strongest tools that you have in your box. Even in Israel, everywhere, I am a big proponent of it. Mulching creates more water in the soil, it holds better, you don't lose it to evaporation, you improve the soil texture, it can later absorb the water better, it feeds the water, builds organic matter, gives mineral. Mulching is an amazing practice. It prevents weeds from every possible aspect you can think of. You should do mulching. As I mentioned, furrow irrigation combined with a clay reservoir gives you a very low cost water management strategy. And another big thing that also can be done very cheaply with low cost ovens that can be built even under subsistence farming is biochar. Using biochar to improve soil organic matter. Biochar is very stable in the soil. It increased water retention, increases fertilizer retention, improves the microbiology, the soil health and the structure. And again, from every point of you can possibly think of, biochar will improve your yield and water management. So mulching with biochar and furrow irrigation combined with water reservoir can do a tremendous leap with really very, very minimal cost, mainly human labor. But in terms of monetary cost, it can be almost nothing. And of course, if you have also putting chicken manure, for example, in the furrows, also gives you fertilizer where the water are and where the roots are. So we did that in Nepal and it works amazing. So it really gives you also a nutrient distribution system. And so I think the key takeaway is water is not necessarily scarce, but unevenly distributed. So we need a buffer. We need to collect it when it's available and then use it when it's not. Water collection, storage, and distribution can be very low cost. And again, any family can do it with the tools and the labor that they have. Of course, it can be combined with a pump, feeding it periodically from a river, from a lake, from underground water. And again, of course, if you can afford it and you drip will be much more efficient than for irrigation, you will get a lot more of your reservoir. But again, it gets you into costs that not necessarily as subsistence farmers can allow. Mulching and biochar to improve your soil. The soil is one of the best water banks that you have, but we need to improve it. And support and training networks. So once you get that ball rolling and people learn how to build this reservoir and create this low-cost system, the knowledge needs to be pushed forward, and people need to be trained how to build them, and then move it on forward. So from my end, that's it. That's the main key points that I wanted to pass along.
Thank you so much, Tom. I think you have done so well. You're reading from the participants and myself, I'm reading that like the best practice, because we know Israel and where you mentioned Jerusalem, where you come from, have got the best practice that we all used to refer to and we learn. And we were there with Shifunero some few last month, and we visited exactly what you have mentioned. And I just want to highlight on what you've said, and thank you so much first. You have done so well. So let me just highlight one thing that is on evaporation of water, from our topic today on climate resilience irrigation. I think we are focusing on how best we can do or build food security and increase productivity at the same level. And I want to say, Tal, you have given us almost all the possible solutions that we can apply so that we can have food, we can be food secure and we can increase production, which will eventually lead to incomes to the farmers. So on evaporation, I think you've highlighted something which is very critical, because Africa and other countries, the way you mentioned Nepal, when rains comes, we all leave rains to flow. We all leave the rainwater to flow away. And you've told us something about building the reservoirs. I saw this in Arava Valley, the way reservoirs are just kept, and even some are covered, so that to reduce on evaporation. That was an amazing technology that you are talking about, and you are reading from one another here with the insights that the presenters have shared. And I know it is very critical for everyone. And I believe you are taking note of this. It has worked there, and I saw it was just amazing. The way we can have a very huge reservoir of almost 100,000 cubic meters of water being covered so that it can reduce evaporation. And also the low cost water irrigation technology of mulching. That is also an amazing one that maybe we have not taken time to embrace. And maybe sometimes most of our farmers find it, the technology sometimes needs some training or extension to be capacity building to the farmers so that they can really pick on that. So I believe there are some answers that you have given us and some solutions that you have given us, which will require, it's available. It's only that you have not taken seriously in terms of how we can communicate this or disseminate this to our farmers. So I saw this in Israel and I was so impressed the way even markets are organized. Like, we are growing the grapes this season in Israel, when during this season, you mulch the entire farm, and then you're waiting when Europe are experiencing winter, that is when we sell the grapes. That's something which was so amazing to me. And I think it's one of the solutions that you're going to look into on how markets are going to be open. And I think our first presenter, or Shifuniro, mentioned this about marketing of the product. So you've seen how irrigation can really enable us look and be very timely when it comes to marketing our product. So thank you very much again, Tal. I learned from you the biochar. I'm not an agronomist, but the biochar, you will tell me about that. But you've mentioned very well that it is something to do with soil health. So I know many agronomists in this session understand what it is. I'm an economist and a strategic business person. I don't understand, but I will go and research on this. Let me take this session now to welcome each and everyone to the question and answer session before I take it back. So I'm going to open the and I know there are so many questions that you're going to give answers that has been raised. There are many attendees, and I might not say their names, others are anonymous, but I will just highlight so that the speakers can give you some time to respond on that as we continue. So there's someone asking on how we are going to support farmers when installing the irrigation. So I'll take that to Honorable Minister to capture that. And then on Malawi, again, we have somebody asking about the documents on extension service. I'll take it to Honorable Minister to address that again. And somebody is addressing the minister on how to assess incentive. So they are seeking for the document, and then strategies on investment to your ministry to prioritize. So you can pick that, Honorable Minister. And then on the cost of system, I'll take this back to Shifuniro. There someone is want to understand how much does irrigation system cost. He did not, or she did not explain if it is on drip or the new technology irrigation, because I know the costs differ from the most available normal drip irrigation, other kind of irrigation system technologies versus the current or the modern. And then somebody is requesting, Michelle, that we share the presentation. So I believe that when you're going to do it. And then what are the strategies to set by the ministry? Oh, our Honorable Minister, you have a lot of questions. And then last one, Honorable Minister Sam Kawale, the duty procedure to assess duty-free equipments. And then our Honorable Minister, again, Shifuniro, you will help our minister to answer this. What are we doing to reduce deforestation? So I will go up to that level so that we might do the last one as I give, because I know it's too much for him. And maybe there are other questions I will give to other speakers to speak about it. So welcome, Honorable Minister and Shifuniro thereafter on answering the question. So let's start with Honorable Minister.
Great, thank you very much. The first, I might have missed the first one or two questions, but I know there's a question on access to finance, access to incentives, and then there was a question on strategy. When I come to that, you remind me, and then the issue of duty-free status. So let me start with the access to finance. So first of all, the handbook that we have released is very detailed in terms of what Malawian farmers, where they can go to access the financing for their agriculture activities. So when I share this handbook, our moderators, you find ways of doing it, but we have these in the Ministry of Agriculture. We'll find ways of sharing them again. But first of all, we have the Ministry of Agriculture itself through the Mega Farm Support Unit, where we are providing financing to the farmers. They can apply, and then we do the assessment, and then they get the financing through that. Secondly, we have the National Economic Empowerment Fund, where we are also providing low interest loans to our farmers. And these loans, you can use them for any agriculture-related activity, for buying equipment, production, aggregation of produce, but also the value addition. So apart from Mega Farm, we also, Mega Farm and National Economic Empowerment Fund, we also have the AgCom, Agriculture Commercialization Program. This is a $340 million project that we are running in the ministry. It does everything from investment in equipment, production, value addition, and everything to do with agriculture commercialization. So AgCom also provides finances for our farmers. Apart from that, we also have another financing opportunity through a program which is called FAMZE. FAMZE stands for Finance Access for Rural Market for Smallholder Farmers. That one is under the ministry. We work together with Minister of Finance. We also have another program which we are working together with Minister of Local Government. It's called Trade. This is for high-value crops that we also provide the finances for that. Apart from government providing the access to financing, we've also worked with commercial banks to come up with low-cost financing opportunities in the agriculture sector. So Standard Bank, National Bank, NBS Bank, they're already with us. Just now, as we speak, the Mega Farm Support Unit is engaging 2 banks to provide financing. So in terms of incentives, now this is now what can you get from Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Trade, or Minister of Finance to incentivize your agriculture sector. So first of all, if you want to bring in equipment, irrigation equipment, mechanization, tractors, and so on, you inform the Malawi Revenue Authority, Minister of Trade and Agriculture, you want to import this equipment, they come in duty-free. So these offices, they provide the information, and we have clearing agents who can also provide information on how you can get these incentives to bring together, to bring in the equipment that you need. Apart from that, we also have other incentives, apart from financial or equipment-wise. This is now with the Ministry of Energy. We've also worked with the Ministry of Energy to provide incentives for the electricity tariffs. So if you are in the agriculture sector and you want electricity, the rates that you pay for your farming activities is lower than the normal commercial rates. So that is in place. All you need to do is to apply how much power you need, what you're going to use it for. As long as it's agriculture related activity, you get low charges for your electricity. We've worked the same thing on fuel, but we just want to stabilize the availability of fuel in the country, and then that is going to kick in. And we keep on listening to our farmers. What other incentives do they want? And then we discussed with our partners in other ministries to come up with incentives. So the incentives which are in the booklet, they are not exhaustive. If there's something new, we keep on adding for us to help every farmer. So I've talked about access to finance, incentives, and the duty-free status is part of the incentives that I've talked about. Can you let me know what other questions that were addressed to my ministry that I have left out? Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I think you've highlighted most, because from the questions which are coming, Honorable Minister, they are almost the same and you have addressed, because I could see most of the members asking about the incentives, which you have really highlighted and elaborated very well, where they are found with the local banks that you have in Malawi that has the same credit for which is affordable to the farmers. And maybe on deforestation, what government of Malawi is going to deal with deforestation. That is something that closely affecting the environment. But from the questions that I've gathered, you've answered very well.
We've actually made it a little bit easier. Instead of people coming all the way to the Ministry of Agriculture, in Capitol Hill, to have the letters. They can also go to the district offices. So when they go to our district councils, we have irrigation officers there. Then they go and do the verification of your land and everything that is there to ascertain if you can qualify for that. So I just want to encourage people that don't be afraid to go to the district council, or don't be afraid that you're going to spend a lot of money to come to the capital city. You can get all these things at that level. In terms of deforestation, one of the things that we have done is to help is to work with our farmers. For example, the tobacco industry. Because farmers use wood for their tobacco to make the buns and so on. One of the things that we are promoting is for every farmer to have what we call live buns. A live bun is where you have a living tree that is growing, and you use that to shade your tobacco so that it cures properly. And even for firewood, every farmer who is doing that, growing tobacco that needs firewood, they're encouraged to plant their own trees for that. So we've actually put in place a few policies in place to address the issue of deforestation. Even when you are designing your farm, every farm is supposed to be designed with forests in mind. Trees are supposed to be there, either fruit trees, wood trees, but there has to be trees available all year round. And we work hand in hand with the Forestry Act, and the community also is trained in that one. So as we are addressing the issue of deforestation, the community is involved, the Forestry Act is there, and so that we can address some of the concerns which are there. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. We don't work in isolation with the Ministry of Natural Resources. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Honorable. We are glad to listen to a very open government and a very open system that speaks to the people, its citizens, and also to the members globally or African-wide who are in this platform. So allow me, because of time, to welcome Michelle to introduce the final speaker, that is Stephen Grabeel, as we go to our closing remarks. So I believe, Michelle, you will take up from there. And thank you very much. Michelle.
My name is Stephen Graybill, and I am the director of Moja Academy with Moja Market LLC. And I just, on behalf of the entire consortium, I want to thank all of our speakers today for the excellent job, the passionate portrayals of how to make water get more distributed more effectively throughout the farms and throughout the growing areas in all over Africa. But it struck me in hearing these brilliant presentations today that water is like money. And it's in this sense that it requires efficient, effective distribution in order to be able to put to maximal use. But that requires knowledge, and that requires training. And like the minister spoke about, how can we be proactive in that type of training? It is our conviction at Moja that perhaps the most important last mile component of that proactive sort of training. Water is what water is, and money is what money is. It's easily slips through the fingers if we don't know how to use it properly. This is where digital extension services is absolutely critical. Human beings can carry this knowledge of water and money and these resources that require proper distribution to their proper resting points in making agriculture productive, commercial, mechanized. And technology plays a major role in that. But how do we train people quickly, effectively, and where they are so they don't have to leave their work to go to a different place? This is what we are really trying to be proactive about and pioneer digital extension services. And in the Lilongwe next week, there is a major conference coming. And so as part of Moja's preparation for this conference, we are working actively with Luanar, the major university, and CISANET to be able to develop the pathways to the farmers and to the extension workers with the correct knowledge, with the right kind of platform, and work together in partnership to be able to cover that last mile territory. So if you're able, if you're in Lilongwe next week, please come to the extension conference, listen to the speakers, listen to the technologies, see what's happening, and gain from that. Again, thank you so much for your attendance today. We will be in communication again. Our next webinar is being planned for June 5th, same time, same channel, and we look forward to seeing you.
Thank you all, and thank you for your attendance. Let me take back the meeting to Michelle and Shifuniro. I'm glad that you all managed to be here, and thank you for the insights and what we have shared today. I'm so glad that all of you managed to attend. And for the next one that I've been mentioned for June, see you there. It's been a pleasure being your moderator. Have a good day.